on the 11:15. I am spot on the quarter hour. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. I am Garrett Qualey, author of Botanical Shakespeare. I even have one right here. And we're doing our weekly Sunday morning brain body boost, Shakespeare Therapy, Herbal healing, or as we went through last week, herbal healing. I mean, this is what happens. Herbal healing or herbal healing. You decide, or it'll switch it up. Maybe that is good for the brain. Herbal healing. I can see some people are on. Hello, hello. And Hannah, the district herbalist, is on, so we'll be bringing her on in a minute. This is, gosh, our third official show, and we had a little amuse-bouche one early on to kind of test the waters, and we've been having some technical issues. If you're paying attention at all, you can see that I'm in have a different background. So I'm not in New York today. I'm in Washington, D.C. And in America, we just had the 4th of July, Independence Day. And we were thinking, Hannah and I had a little conversation after this show last week about what is independence and what is freedom and all that stuff from a herbal standpoint. And I started thinking about purging and, well, detoxing. Detoxing is very big. I have a lot of friends who are going through a detox, and I realized I really needed one too. And not because during this whole shutdown thing, we have, kind of all rules are off, and a lot of us, me included, have been eating whatever we want and drinking whatever we want and whatever, and kind of not sticking with the program. And so there's a joke going around that the COVID-19 is like freshman 15. And that has certainly been true for many, many people that I know. And so I thought, let's look at detoxing from an herbal standpoint, and also, from a brain standpoint too. So we do the sort of brain body boost here from the Bard, and Hannah, who'll be on in a minute, talks to us about how we can do that with natural healing and natural herbs and all that sort of thing. Things that you could maybe grow in a pot. Oh, here. Grow in a pot on your windowsill. And from a brain point of view, the Shakespeare part is the reason Shakespeare is under the umbrella of the humanities, because it teaches us to be human. I just realized I have my mask hanging on my ear, so I have a little. So I want to be speaking Shakespeare, and we have another one. I'll get to that at the end. Anyway, so we're talking about purging today. That's what Shakespeare calls detoxing. And there's a lot of lines about purging, purgatives, usually metaphorically, but sometimes specifically. So Hannah will be talking about those. But the line of the day, and I haven't really been pressing the line of the day. The line of the day today is, by heaven, my heart is purged from grudging hate. Because we talk about the herbs from a physical purging standpoint, but the brain is responsible for this too. It's a choice. It's a decision. My heart is purged of grudging hate. And yesterday I had a sort of off the record, share the mic conversation with an amazing woman called Suzette Ship. And we might share a little bit of that as well. We'll see sometime during the week. But anyway, so let's bring Hannah on. Hi, Hannah. Hello.
Hello.
I was just explaining why we're talking about detoxing today, or why we're talking about purging. And I realized I haven't been pushing the learn the line thing very much. Have you been memorizing any lines?
I have to admit, I haven't.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna start that, because I thought, wouldn't it be like pushing that a little more, because we do want to sharpen the brain. So my heart is purged from grudging hate is from Richard III. And like maybe at the end of a month or something, we'll go through all the lines and have a big Zoom call with anybody who committed a line to memory, and maybe have a prize at the end. Now, it is easy to cheat, but honestly, that adage is true, that you're only cheating yourself, because It's no skin off my nose if you don't sharpen your brain. No, it is, actually. We all need, everybody needs to have the sharpest brains possible in dealing with each other. So, okay, yes, it is, but really it's for you. And so now, Hannah, we're going to be talking about the purging herbs. And Hannah said something very funny when we were talking. She goes, "Oh, it's an opportunity to get anthraquinone laxative out into the World Wide Web. So, hey, that's something to stay tuned for." So, Hannah, what herbs do we need to have a purge ourselves?
Wow, there's a leading question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, purging is really the very old-fashioned way of describing it, really. You know, as would have been in Shakespeare's time, and now, I don't know. Now we don't think of it as purging. Now we think of it as more as eliminating herbs, I think is probably the best phrase to use.
Okay.
So from that respect, we're talking about laxatives and sort of very strong purgatives that you can get, and essentially, well, what can I say? From a directly eliminating point of view, what these lovely things called anthraquinones do, which are chemical constituents that are found in some medicinal plants, is they're laxatives, basically. So what they do is they increase peristalsis, so that's squeezing down the tube, by sort of irritation of the gut wall, or sometimes sort of stimulating the smooth muscle. And this is kind of where certainly two of the herbs that we were going to talk about today kind of come in, really. So,
well, I know for people who have trouble quitting smoking, I used to smoke years ago, and because it does kind of help focus your brain for 20 minutes, and that's why writers in the past were tended to be chain smokers, but they didn't have quite as many chemicals in them as cigarettes do now. And one of the reasons people get hooked on it is because it takes over the peristaltic action thing. And I always thought I want to design an quitting smoking program that deals with all of these issues, because a lot of times people think it's psychological and they give you, antidepressants or Chantix or something like that. But really, I think there are herbal ways to deal with the fallout of quitting. I mean, that's just one thing to think about. Throw it out there. But yes, so go back to the anthraquinone laxatives.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. Actually, some of the ones that are really helpful for people stopping smoking are some of the ones for the nervous system that we were talking about last week. Actually, as a bit of a link back there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, two of the herbs that we were going to talk about today, of course, were there was senna and also rhubarb. Yeah. And as far as those very good eliminating herbs go, rhubarb is seen as quite a gentle laxative, and I think if you've eaten rhubarb and you've maybe had too much rhubarb, you will have noticed an effect. But then from a more kind of powerful perspective, that's where senna really comes into its kind of play. But they're really useful, and they really do work very well when they're applied really well. But you do have to, like a lot of the really strong plants, you've got to treat them with a little bit of respect, because if they're used too much or if they're used incorrectly, then you can end up with other problems. So
what does that mean? Does that mean don't self-medicate? Or like rhubarb, my father's favorite pie is strawberry rhubarb pie. Could be considered medicinal? And are you getting a slight relaxation of the digestive system by eating a slice of strawberry rhubarb pie? Am I extrapolating too much?
Well, it's actually because what happens is when it doesn't have an action until it hits the guts, and then when it hits the guts, and you get a sort of a hydrolyzing action in the guts, and so it combines with water, and then it basically eases things out of the guts. So, so by eating cooked rhubarb, you are absolutely having a that kind of effect on your digestion for sure.
So, and senna, so both of these are mentioned in what I call the Scottish play, because I actually do believe in the curse. And so, and Mr. Mack is talking about them, using them as a purgative. And cyme, he says, it says in the play, cyme instead of senna. And I explain this in the book that that they think that this was a mistranscription, perhaps, or a misspelling of senna and why, and it's probably true. But anyway, it does say cyme in the play, so that's what we say, and then I explain that it's senna. But senna is not something that most people know. What exactly is it?
I mean, senna say it's it's kind of a dried fruit pod, really. So it's kind of the leaves and the dried fruit pod of a plant, and I've got a little picture of it here, actually. I'm not sure if you can see just there. Yeah, I mean, and what it does, it stimulates bile. So going on that whole liver thing too, which we'll come on to with the next herb in a minute. So to get the bowel moving, senna and rhubarb are great. Rhubarb as a starting point, senna if you're a bit more stuck. But overuse isn't too great because it can cause over relaxation of the bowel, and which isn't going to be good for anyone. And it's not so great for the gut bacteria long term if you take too much of it.
Yeah, so moderation, like everything. Okay, so how do you know when you're overdoing it, except when it's too late?
Oh, little and often, I would say. I mean, it's certainly it's using really strong eliminative herbs isn't something to do all the time. It's just something to do if things aren't quite working as they should, and for a short amount of time, and that's the best way to get the best out of them.
And the reason to do a purge or a detox or something like this is to get, I think you can speak to this, built up toxins out of the body, and so that you can have sort of a clean slate for putting the good stuff in and restoring ourselves to health and all that stuff. So this is one of the reasons that we do this. And the brain, same thing, is, my heart is purged from grudging hate. Kind of do a little self-assessment. What is clogging up your brain with a bunch of thoughts that actually don't help you think clearly, see clearly, keep you calm, keep you clear, good decision-making, good self-care, all of that stuff. Shakespeare for self-care. Hannah Sylvester is a trained medical herbalist in Lincoln in the UK. Do you do remote treatments, especially nowadays when we can't really meet in person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got my lovely quaint clinic in the town centre, but at the minute that's out of action, so I'm doing Zoom consultations and treating people online and making bespoke prescriptions.
But you have to really people have to know themselves very well in order to give you an accurate assessment of what's going on with them, I would think, right? Ooh.
Well, I mean, it's the first consultation usually hours.
Wow.
So it's a really in-depth, really full sort of health consultation as to exactly what's going on with pretty much every part of their body and life, really. Yeah. And then that allows me to make a really lovely bespoke prescription for people.
I'm just going to pop up this is our Sumier's illustration of cyme or senna, and there's the one line, and then you can see the play without me actually saying it. Yeah, I have an article about why I believe in the curse. Anybody wants to look that up on Huffington, and it explains what the curse is and why. Anyway, I think we're kind of at our time. We wanted a quick and clean way to get in there and discuss some herbs and discuss some brain stuff. I keep pushing off the sleep one. But I need it because, boy, so maybe next week, smack in the middle of summer, even though it's not midsummer, we'll discuss sleep issues and sleeping herbs and all that stuff. But in the meantime, there is a great line, gloves as sweet as damask roses, masks for faces and for noses. So we'll see you next week. Oh, and stay tuned for the card and the Shakespeare Wisdom reading, which I will pop on next. Hannah, see you next week.